everyone, and welcome back to Core Conversations, a podcast from the United States Coast Guard Academy Alumni Association. I'm First Class Elijah Parent, coming to you from Studio 1887 here in the Alumni Center.
And I'm First Class Carl DiGiorgio. Today's episode is one that I think is going to resonate with a lot of cadets, especially if you ever felt like you're trying to catch up, figure things out, or just not following the perfect path.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we're excited to share this conversation. Today, we're joined by Commander Craig Johnson, a 2009 graduate, former Coast Guard Academy basketball standout, and currently the commanding officer of Station New York.
What stood out to me right away in this conversation is how honest Craig is about his journey. He described himself as a late bloomer, someone who maybe did not have a textbook career, but someone who figured things out over time through experience, reflection, and intentional growth.
And I think that's something a lot of us can relate to. At the academy, it can feel like everyone around you has it all mapped out. One of the biggest takeaways from this episode is that you don't need to have everything figured out right now.
Exactly. Craig talks about being focused on getting better every day, whether that's as a leader, a teammate, or just a person, and how those small steps can compound over time.
Before we jump into the episode, we want to take a minute to reflect on a couple things that stood out to us and how they connect to cadet life. One of my favorite insights from Commander Johnson's story is how he mentioned spending as much money on your own development as you do in your bar tab, and that just really resonated with me.
Yeah, something I stood out to me is I liked how he talked about accountability and holding others accountable. I think he framed it in a really interesting way. He talked about how holding others accountable was really just pushing them to be their best self. And that was one of my favorite parts of the episode. I think what makes this conversation really valuable is just hearing not just about where Craig ended up, but how he got there and what that process looked like.
So whether you're a cadet here at the academy, an alum reflecting on your own path, or someone considering a future in the Coast Guard, there's something in this episode for you.
This episode is a conversation about growth, leadership, and the reality that most careers aren't linear. They're built over time.
Get into the episode.
Hello, this is First Class Elijah Parent, and you're listening to Core Conversations, a podcast of the USCGA Alumni Association. I'm here in the Alumni Center Studio 1887 with my co-host, Lieutenant Commander Nick Martin, and we're excited to welcome this episode's alumni guest, Commander Craig Johnson, class of 2009, and also my basketball coach my freshman year. Welcome, Commander.
Hey, Elijah. Hey, Nick. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me up to New London this morning.
Super happy to have you here, Craig.
Commander, just to get started, we're going to put you on the clock in 1 minute. Walk us through your career from Coast Guard ensign to where you are now. Are you ready?
Let's do it. All right. So I'm currently the commanding officer of Station New York. I'm in New York. I came from D.C., where I was a White House Fellow in the Office of Cabinet Affairs. Prior to that, here at the Coast Guard Academy, teaching public policy and government classes and helping coach the great Coast Guard Academy Bears basketball team. From there, I grad school 2 years at Harvard's Kennedy School. Prior to that, I was in the Enforcement Division at Sector San Francisco. Prior to that, Coast Guard Headquarters in the Office of Deployable Specialized Forces. Prior to that, I was at the MSST, Maritime Safety and Security Team, a deployable law enforcement team, the ones who fast road from helicopters and shoot guns. That was my second tour, with my first tour being Coast Guard Cutter Gallatin at 378.
Awesome. Today's episode isn't about perfect trajectory. It's about becoming. Sir, you describe yourself as a late bloomer. Let's start there. What does that mean to you? What does late bloomer mean to you?
I think whether it was, I didn't start playing basketball until I was in junior high school. I didn't really start taking the Coast Guard career as seriously as I wanted to until later on. I haven't had what would be like a textbook career. It's been a little bit meandering. That's why I would identify myself as a bit of a late bloomer. I think that's just me being optimistic about the future as well.
You said you talked about picking up basketball late. When did you find out about the Coast Guard Academy, and how did basketball help lead you to the Coast Guard Academy? I know you're not from New England.
Yeah, I grew up in Southern Oregon, where Pete Barry, who was the longtime and current winningest coach at the Coast Guard Academy, had taught in Southern Oregon before going out to out here in London. I ended up here largely because of basketball and largely to get out of Oregon.
And then he became the Coast Guard's greatest basketball player of all time.
I wouldn't say that, but
I would put you up there.
Okay, thank you. I am still a leading scorer, and I'm anxious for someone to take that record
I
away.
didn't know you were a leading scorer. I thought you were just leading rebounder. You're both.
I don't know about rebound.
Oh,
Rebounding. I was actually looking at all the like records yesterday. You were third for rebounds,
Okay.
apparently. You had the most points in a single season ever, which you scored 518 points, I believe.
oh man. But you were getting recruited back then, right? Because it wasn't you came to the academy just a couple more years before I did. Do you remember the process? Did you like phone call? Did you letter in the mail? Anything like that?
Yeah, I got a letter in the mail. I applied early. The Coast Guard Academy is the only school I applied to, so I really put all my eggs in this basket. I wanted to be in the Coast Guard. I wanted to go to the Coast Guard Academy, and I applied early. I found out in December, and I showed up in New London the night before our day, and it felt like a world away.
So just coming back to late bloomer stuff, was there ever a moment where you realized that you needed to grow differently because you saw yourself as a late bloomer?
Yeah, I think maybe I'll talk a little bit about sports, where I came into basketball late and wasn't as successful as I would have wanted to be. And I think um, a strategy that I've taken is when I lose or fail, I try to internalize it and not come up with reasons why. Oh, if this would have fallen differently, or if we'd have made those two shots, because it's really never about that. It's when you're watching a game or you're watching a situation, it's always pretty clear the best team. So when I was unsuccessful on the court, I just took that personally to say, wow, the other team was better than me. That means they're more prepared, they worked harder, and they were willing to sacrifice more to win. And then I took steps that would set me up to then be more successful the next time. When I started to notice something similar in my career, where I was like, I'm not as effective as I'd like to be as a leader in the Coast Guard, I think I internalized it instead of trying to think, well, it's because of this, because of that leader, because the detailer sent me here, or because that situation. Just internalize. I'm not doing as well as I would have liked to. There was no like, I was never in trouble. There's no problems. It was just I was not as successful and impactful as I wanted to be. So I started to take steps to over years, like chip away at that to be more successful and to kind of have the impact that I want to have in the service and on the people that I work with.
Yeah, I think you referenced something like that in our pre-chat where you said to spend as much money on your development as you do your bar tab, which I really like that quote. It's actually stuck with me since you said it because I've sat back and I thought, like, how much am I right now spending on myself for my personal development compared to my bar tab on the weekends? Um, so I'm just curious, did that mindset come from basketball? You said that transferred over to your career, so I'm just curious to see if where that correlation came from.
Yeah, I've never been really a bookworm, whether it was in high school or here. I'm very like middle of the road, doing enough school to be able to do sports, frankly. And so I started to notice that I wasn't as good of a writer as I needed to be. I didn't understand psychology as well as I needed to. I didn't have a good enough understanding of history. I feel like I didn't take my own development seriously enough throughout college. And so as I started to read, listen to podcasts, use like taking free classes. I mean, I took a bunch of free classes from Harvard before I applied and eventually went. Master class, a subscription to The Economist, a variety of newspapers, and then starting to develop instincts around who are these writers? What are they trying to make me believe? What's their perspective? What's their background? It helps you become a sharper thinker and a better writer. And then I think it improved my judgment and ability to understand the world and make the impact that I wanted to. But it took a lot of time. And I think it's easy to, out with the boys, let's get some drinks. If you start to add those pennies up, you notice that you're spending a lot of money on that, and just take that same amount, buy an Audible account and start listening to some books that are going to sharpen your mind and make you not smarter, not more like highbrow, whatnot, really just like more an impactful leader and involved citizen. I think it kind of really enriches your life in a meaningful way.
What would you tell a cadet who feels behind or like a late bloomer like you would? Like if you had to go back and tell yourself what steps you should take right now as a cadet, fourth class Craig Johnson, what would you tell him?
So if I was going to go back to give fourth class Craig Johnson advice, I mean, I can only imagine what he would think, first of all. But having been an instructor here and giving fourth class cadets advice, I think it would be more like take a step back, enjoy your career, um, enjoy where you are right now, take steps to make yourself um, more of an effective leader, understanding the world like better. Because I guess I noticed when I was here, it seemed like cadets had their whole career mapped out, and I certainly didn't. And I don't think you need to. And I think if you think you have it mapped out, you're setting yourself up for some for problems. So I would say just focus on like what's in front of you. Enjoy your time as a cadet with your friends that you're never going to get back, um, and don't worry about 10 years from now. Worry about just getting a little better today. I think like a mantra that we would say on the basketball court was every day a little way, a little better. And um that's kind of it, because you don't need to take big steps. You just need to take a lot of little steps.
Yeah, I think that's like very apt and wonderful advice for fourth class cadets because when you get here as a freshman, you are in most cases like behind athletically from your competition and behind academically from your peers. And just in the fact that this place is so competitive academically. Like even if you're top of your class in your high school from wherever, you show up here and you're with everybody that's top of their class from high schools everywhere else. And then athletically, it's a huge learning. Like, I came in here and hardly ever lost a high school tennis match, and now I'm, getting crushed week in, week out for at least a year to try to figure out how do I play college tennis at this level. And I'm sure similarly for you for basketball coming in freshman year, especially since you started later, was like, oof, all right, this is what it looks like.
Yeah, it's a big change. You kind of feel like you're top of your game league in high school, and then you show up here and you start all over. And then frankly, it's a great learning lesson because you show up at your first unit and you're a fourth class again. And then you just keep kind of climbing these hills over and over again. Whether it was me showing up at Station New York as a commander, it's a lot of the same feelings of like, all right, let's roll up our sleeves and get to work. And I don't know quite what to do, but I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah, and that had to be like especially true for you because when you talked about, your 1 minute career, uh, you started over when was the first time you did a job that you had kind of done before? I
I
mean, has it
really
even happened?
I've never been to the same even kind of unit twice. I've been to sector, cutter, DSF, station, headquarters, the Coast Guard Academy. Now I'm going to likely a different job at headquarters where it will be starting from scratch in a new way, which is frankly, Elijah, one of my favorite things about the Coast Guard is every couple of years you get to start over and do something completely novel while building on the foundation that you have. So it doesn't let you kind of rest on your laurels. Every couple of years, you're getting a brand new challenge that will keep you on your toes.
Yeah, and even, it's so true because even if you stay in the same community, it's very rare for everyone to return to the exact same platform in the exact same location. So sure, you leave here, you do an FRC in Key West. Maybe eventually you return to be XO of an FRC somewhere, but it might be an FRC in Boston. And you're learning a totally new area, a totally new set of skills. Same thing with prevention, same thing with response ashore. Yeah, it's a really good point.
But moving on, I'd like to talk about how early in your career you felt stuck at headquarters. What changed that?
So when you go from being on a cutter where you're like really involved in unit operations, and then I was at a DSF unit where I was leading a boarding team, we're fast roping off of helicopters, shooting guns. You're that senior at the academy again, and then you show up at headquarters as a junior lieutenant, and no one is very interested in what you have to say. Um, and you feel like the impact of your work is maybe 10 years down the road. So it was hard for me to like learn that system as a young action officer at headquarters. I took opportunities to do, I signed up to be a White House social aide where I worked events at the White House and eventually escorting Michelle Obama down the steps of the Capitol during inauguration, getting to see kind of what um, the inside of DC, being in those rooms as decisions are made and just who's coming to the White House and why. I also did War College, which is a night program where you can study with on Capitol Hill with staffers, military officers, and so I took seriously building skills that would make me not more successful in my future career because I think that's too superficial for me to get excited about, but to make me a more effective leader in the future. So like the steps I took back then help me better lead the 150 people at Station New York today. And had I not taken those steps, I would be less effective at achieving our mission, which I think is really important, and helping develop them to be the best people that they can be. So um, it's like a farmer who plants in the spring. Like you're doing that and you don't see it, and it takes a long time. But when it grows and you're harvesting, like that's when you see it. So in the same way, what you're doing now at the academy, you're just planting seeds now um, that will pay off at your future unit. Not in terms of like accolades for you, but in terms of achieving the mission of your unit, taking care of the Coast Guard men and women that are assigned to you. And I think that is the most motivating thing that you can do for me because when you do it wrong, it hits you harder than I can imagine. And when you do it right, it's the best feeling ever. So that's the kind of thing that gets me out of bed. It gets me motivated to try to develop myself into a better leader because there's going to be challenges in my future that I don't know about yet that I'm getting ready for today. And I think that's something that I would try to share with dads or really anyone who will listen, and frankly reminding myself through like the hard moments of whatever are my current situation that I'm developing so that I can be better in the future.
The the social aid program sounds amazing, and I'm not as familiar with it because I was not in it, but you also mentioned Naval War College, which I think is like a very underutilized opportunity that a lot of Coast Guard officers have. Especially anywhere you're co-located with a Navy unit, there's going to be Naval War College classes available through joint professional military education. As Craig noted in DC, it's especially unique because you can take it with congressional staffers, Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, and Secret Service members in the class when I did it as well. And it's just a really, really cool opportunity for Coast Guard officers to get a little bit of the Department of Defense, Department of War knowledge behind, right? So I'm glad you mentioned that you did that too, because it also, I think, my career, similar to you, helped like develop some new skills and some new knowledge and push me towards eventually, pursuing grad school similar to you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a big advocate for the program, and I think it's like coming back to being a late bloomer and not taking maybe my education here as seriously as I should have taken more advantage of it. I had to catch up. Like I'm reading books about grammar to make. I was a math major. I'm just not a great writer. So I made sure that I got straight A's through that program, so I could apply. I was like, I want to go to the Kennedy School. I want to go. Take advantages. Again, once you shift your paradigm to if I can be better, I can serve better. And that's going to have a big impact on the country and the lives of the people I work with. It works as such a motivating force to where you're like, no, I need to be more prepared for that. And I'm willing to like claw to get there. And that's what that period of my career felt like, which was no accolades, no pats on the back, just hard work. And yeah, I really loved that time in DC. So there's a Southern man by the name of Mitch Landry, who's the mayor of New Orleans, who used to say that dog can hunt, and he was referring to an action officer at the White House at that time who could just go figure it out. You could you could give them the scent, and then just off they go. And then there's the dogs that can't hunt, who you find them under a tree and they didn't do what they're supposed to be doing. So I think what that means for us as junior officers, as professionals, is critical thinking, problem solving, finding solutions to hard problems. And frankly, it's a learned skill over time. And you have to do it a lot and do it wrong a lot to get more of a sophisticated understanding of problems. Because earlier on in your career, problems are more two-dimensional. It's two-dimensional in the sense that you either like push too hard or not hard enough. But the farther you get along in your career, it becomes like 8-dimensional because there's personalities involved, there's resource constraints, there's political considerations, there's all of these things that make solving problems a lot harder. And as you kind of go through your career, you can develop a reputation as someone who can solve problems by consistently solving problems. And then you come away with a skill set that is hard to define on paper, but people know. And I think I aspire to be a dog that can hunt. That you can put me on the scent, and I'm going to go figure it out, and I'll come back with a solution. And you can trust me to do the right thing, to be transparent, honest, and treat people right through that process. You can do that, then I think you're going to put yourself into a pretty good position.
Yeah, I love that quote, especially just because like it's a huge compliment for Coast Guard enlisted member or Coast Guard officer to be left to accomplish a mission in ambiguity, right? To be trusted as a decision maker that I do not have a full plan for exactly what I want you to do or how I want you to accomplish this, but I trust you, the dog that can hunt, are going to get it done. Like you don't really get a higher compliment coming across the service.
I think that leads well into our next section. There's a process to becoming a dog that can hunt. How important is failing and becoming that dog that can hunt? Because I mean, you need experience to become not necessarily an expert, but proficient in whatever, like solving problems. Like how important is failing and getting that experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I think, I've seen you on the basketball court. You're somebody who you miss the shot and you come back down and you take the same shot and then you make it the second time. And I think the skills that you learn on the basketball court or that Nick and I practice on the tennis court where you lost that game, but you're coming back and now you know where they're gonna hit that backhand. Now you know when they're gonna be off balance and you can work past them. I think the skills you learn in sports is just failing over and over again and getting back up and trying again and not like the old adage of, you know, repeating the same mistakes as and what is it? Insanity, doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So it's not just failing, it's failing, sitting down, figuring out what you did wrong, and then doing it different. Um, and when you do that enough, you start to have much more sophisticated way to solving problems. And the service sets you up, frankly, very, very well. You start out as a division officer, where the problems you're solving are fairly straightforward, and then you become a department head or a CO or an XO, where your problems are more complicated, and then work more on organizational problems during the staff tour, and you come back to so you go through this process of the service really giving you opportunities along the way to pick up these skill sets. And unfortunately, there are times, and I think we've all seen it, where a leader finds themselves in a position where they haven't done the work along the way and they're not up to the task. And I think that's the scariest thing for me as a service member to be like, I never want to find myself in a position where I'm entrusted to lead a team to accomplish a goal and not have the skills to do that. So at every level, whether it's a first class cadet or your ensign tour or as you go along, that is your time to get that skill set. And you need to like lock that in before you go to the next level, kind of like a video game. Like you need to kill this monster before you go on to the next one. And the skills you learned in round one are going to help you as you continue through your service.
I like that idea of building skills at each unit along the way. And I know that you were here briefly as an instructor and coach, but as someone who is also here as an instructor and coach, I am curious, what like skills did you think you developed here? What did you take away from those two positions that have helped you in your next job?
Yeah, from as a coach and as a teacher.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I think the skills that I learned here as an instructor were a lot to do with public speaking and just the subject matter that I happened to be studying, which was government and applicable to like my next job that was in the White House. But also, you forget how old you are until you come back here and you're like, oh, I need to stay connected with this next generation. I'm now the old guy that's the minority. And we do need to do a job of like staying connected with the generation that's coming into the service and understanding their challenges, understanding like untapped potential. And there is a lot of potential. And I had heard so much about, cadets these days and um, or now like new non-rates, and at a unit with almost 50 non-rates and having come from the academy, I'm very optimistic about the Coast Guard's future because this next generation is hardworking, passionate, and they do care and are ready to serve. And I think that's probably the lesson I walked away from teaching the academy.
Yeah, I love that. I feel very similarly to you. Coming from the fleet, you hear all these things about graduating ensigns, and you, of course, like me, had the opportunity to lead new ensigns. And I think when you get here and you're in the classroom with them, it's very easy to see, for me at least, that like they are the exact same as we were, for better or worse.
Maybe I hate to say
Yeah, they just have like social media and Uber, and we didn't. But I walk the halls every day and see like my old friends, as cadets, and I am also similarly like encouraged by that. And you are right about staying connected. Just yesterday, I put up a slide in class because I was trying to make a point about reading the exhibits and case studies, and so I put exhibit the rapper on the slide,
Oh wow.
and I said, "Hey, do you guys know who this is?" Crickets. Like, have you ever seen My Ride? Crickets. Have you ever seen this meme? Crickets. Like, it was just a moment where, like, yeah, we're old, and we need to figure out a better way to connect with the cadets today.
Get with it, Nick.
I,
Just
I
for the record,
try.
I know everything you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'd like close one thing as it relates to sports. The more people ask me like, "Do you love basketball?" I didn't play basketball for years after I left, and frankly, I don't miss that much about the game itself. But what I really miss are the team dynamics. After I left the academy, I played 7 or 8 different like month-long stints, either for the Navy team or for the U.S. military team across Europe, and then lastly in China in 2019 in Wuhan. And what I love about playing basketball is that feeling when you really are anticipating your teammates and being anticipated, and just that feeling of clicking. And frankly, every team doesn't do it. And it's when it happens, it's so special that it keeps you coming back for more. And now that I'm not playing sports competitively, but the same dynamics exist in military teams. And that's just a feeling that I keep chasing. That it's the same feeling of a basketball team that's just like running, and the next pass, and you're anticipating 2 moves ahead, and when your back's turned that screen's coming or that you're boxing out. Like all of those things happen in a workplace or they don't, and you can develop skills as a leader that create that. And if you can help facilitate that in a team, it's the best feeling, and it's something that keeps me really motivated because it's like a high you keep chasing. Because when you get there, it feels so good. And sometimes as a unit, Station New York, we'll get there and then we won't. Like we're in and out, but we're working always to be there. And when it is, it's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's so true. Like when I graduated, I don't think I played tennis for like a decade. And part of that is because at some point during your academic career, you realize that the most fun part of sports, of course, you're playing well as a team, but also you're kind of just playing to get to like the team meal. And so you can enjoy that as a group and move on. And Craig, spot on. I think any former athlete can recognize that that feeling exists out in the fleet when you are doing an important mission, a high up tempo mission, something that has some pressure to it, and you execute it very well, or you see like, your team filling in kind of seamlessly behind you doing those things. Absolutely, that feeling exists out there, right? Like, so that's a very cool thing to hear.
It's not over, Elijah. How do you feel about basketball? I know you just wrapped up your senior season. Are you disappointed? Do you have a sense of relief? Are you gonna get out there and play with the Navy?
I'm a little bittersweet. Like, I mean, I played basketball my entire life. It's like I've always known basketball to be there. That being said, I am a little happy that it's over. Uh, just like move on and try like different things, maybe some new hobbies, stuff like that. But I know for sure that I'm gonna miss like just being around the guys. Like honestly, like, as you said, you were talking about team success. And I completely agree with you. I think like team success is way more of a better feeling than like individual success. Individual success is amazing, don't get me wrong, but like as you were saying, when everyone's clicking on the court and you hit that one more pass and knock down that three, it's just like there's no better feeling than that. Or you're our last game of the season, we're up at the MIT. Um, we kicked it to the freshman in the corner, missed the three. We're like, everyone's like, all right, you're good. You're good. Like, let's win it in overtime. And then overtime came. We all made some insanely clutch plays, and that was we weren't even making the playoffs or anything. Like that game meant absolutely nothing. But just to be able to like work together in that situation and come out the winner I was so happy.
That's awesome.
Those are it's just the best feelings. Like that's the stuff I know I'm gonna remember. Like those tight battles I was in with my teammates, and then obviously, yeah, I'm gonna miss them just at like the dinner table. I remember all those times when we're like in the hotel, like me and my teammate Luke Farrell, we went out to get Denny's at like 11 o'clock at night. It's like stuff like that, like funny stories. It's just weird that the stuff that sticks with you.
Well, eating a stack of pancakes at 11 o'clock becomes more precarious the older you get. So enjoy that.
Surely have more opportunities here soon to do
Yeah,
that.
that's awesome. And I get goosebumps just feel those feelings of that, like you say, that extra pass or that extra screen, or just when you're vibing and it's yeah, those are the best feelings, and there's more to come. And I think you'll help enable those at whatever unit.
Okay, Commander. Currently, you're the commanding officer of Station New York, and I have a couple questions pertaining to that. So, to start off, when did you shift from leading because of rank to leading because people wanted to follow you?
And so that's a good question. I think you probably just have to ask the crew of Station New York. And I think it kind of varies over time. I think you start with a little bit of the leadership that just comes with your role as a commanding officer, and then you have to earn respect. And I think it comes through really believing in the mission and really believing in the crew. And you can't fake that. You can't fake believing that the mission's important, and you can't fake like really loving the crew that you've been chosen to lead. Um, I think something that I do when I find it hard to work with someone, or when I found someone at the unit that I was like not understanding, you have to take the time to get to know them and find aspects of them that you really like. Um, and if the like I this may be a uniquely held position, but I think you have to really like and love your crew. Um, and it helps make sure that you do the things to take care of them. And that you take the time, whether it's if I'm like approaching a math, I take a lot of time to make sure I understand a lot about that person. Um, Not because I still need to do the right thing, but making sure that I find things about them that I like, and that I'm for them allows me to, I think, do the right thing in situations. And if you do that over time, I think you have the opportunity to build trust and respect that overshadows rank.
How many, I guess that maybe you don't have to tell me the number, but I do want to talk about that position, like of authority, especially related to being the massing official, right? Uh, have you had to do a few of those? How weird is that? Is this the first time you've had to do it? And maybe weird is the right word, but I feel like that would be something I would have massive imposter syndrome, like getting ready to do.
Yeah, I thought I would too. The weekend before I reported to Station New York, and I reported after the unit had been going through some challenges. There's a temporary CO after an RFC. The unit was coming out of COVID. The Coast Guard was having just challenges writ large, but I think there were some specific things in New York. So the weekend before I arrived at the unit, there was a large misconduct that it ended up resulting in 9 masts. And I think I was similarly nervous, but after the first one, it was easy. And subsequent mass, it's if it's a hard decision to take someone to mass, then you probably shouldn't. And in subsequent cases, it was yeah, it was quite easy. You have the Coast Guard sets you know sets you up well to do it, and I think it can be it can and should be used as a leadership tool. Um, and when used effectively, it can have a really positive impact on the unit. And I think what I didn't know was I thought, oh man, take taking these people to mass is going to somehow make me unpopular as like the bad guy. And what I found was quite opposite. Like the crew and Coast Guard crews want to work at units where there's accountability and where there's rules and where rules are enforced, they're followed by leadership, and they're enforced evenly and transparently. And so it is hard to do that because you have to do a lot of work beforehand, but it's worth it. And I'm no longer intimidated by math.
That's a little bit I think we talked about in the pre-chat, a little bit of the other side of taking care of your people. Like, you'll hear that ad nauseum here, that to be a successful leader in the Coast Guard, you must take care of your people, and I think a lot of times cadets leaving here think that means that we need to make sure everybody gets their leave, and we need to make sure that they have, like, time off, and they're doing things they want to do, and all these, like, kind of easy things to take care of, things that you'll kind of accomplish, like breathing when you're out there, you'll make those decisions, but then when you get to holding people accountable, that's like truly the real like taking care of your people.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Taking care of your people is putting someone on performance probation and holding them at the unit until they get qualified. It's like setting fair standards and enforcing them. Yes, and I completely agree. Cadets leave thinking that they need to be like a buddy. No, you're there to enforce the rules and to set a standard. Like, and if you're going to be the one setting the standard, you know, I come to work, you come, my haircut's tight, my uniforms are dry clean, because when you're enforcing rules, everyone's looking for you to not follow the rules. And so, as I want to work at a unit where there are clear rules and accountability, I have to set that example just as the table stakes. And if you don't, that will create you a lot of problems.
Yeah, so coming into the station New York, I remember we were talking about this a little bit. Obviously, you came into a position where the previous CO was fired and the unit was on the lower end of morale, a little broken. How do you rebuild the trust in the unit after a situation like that?
Yeah, it was hard, and I'll say, having been at the unit, I hold zero judgment for my predecessor. This is the hardest job that I've ever had. I came from the White House where I was working crazy hours, and that job was a breeze compared to being the CEO of Station New York. And also, Station New York is my favorite job. We have the best crew in the Coast Guard, and I think we have as important a mission as exists in the Coast Guard. Um, so I think the first thing was, I'd never been to a small boat station. I'd never even been a crewman on the platforms that we had. So I started from scratch. And 2 weeks ago, I graduated from tactical coxswain schools. You can find me on the bow, shooting the machine gun, driving the boat. I'm not a SAR coxswain, but when I'm underway and a SAR case happens, you can bet I'm on my way. So I kind of, as a leader, I want to be in the mix. That's why I like the DSF early on in my career, because I didn't want to be the officer that was telling people to go out and do it. I wanted to be the one that was leading the team down the fast rope onto the bridge of the ship. because when you're actually leading from the front and doing all the same things, going out, doing toes and it's snowing out and your hands are, you can't feel your hands. You earn credibility by doing that. And also you earn a deep, deep, deep respect for the work that crew does every day. And it helps you then be empathetic to the challenges of, oh, you want me to go do toes again? Well, there's, for the past month, we've had ice coming through the Narrows, like, right? The New York Harbor froze over. We're still training because we're the only station that can respond. The other ones are all iced in, including a lot of our poor partners. So you can find me out there because I want to know how it feels, because I'm going to go ask them to do the same thing. So I think those are the types of things that help me understand like what is actually going on. And as opposed to like being more of an ivory tower, like, you guys got this. No, go get your dry suit on and feel feel what it's like to be out there, like scraping the scraping the ice off the window with your bare hands as the like sea spray builds up on the windows and the windshield wipers don't work because you don't have funding because of a government shutdown.
Yeah, I definitely say that's like another way of showing your crew that you're there for them, and it definitely helps build that trust going and doing the job that you're asking them to do. I've had many officers say to me like, "Go find out what your crew is doing, learn as much as like you can about them, because it just shows that you're there for them. Like you want what's best for them, and it's not always sunshines and rainbows, but as much as you can make it, I think at least."
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what behaviors build inspirational leadership in your mind?
I like to keep like when I'm talking to, like, whether it's at all hands this morning when the crew is like they're tired. Like they were on for 4 days straight because they were snowed in. All the work happens outside. Like, it sucks to even walk between classes around here, I imagine. Imagine like, okay, we're thirsty in the buildings. But imagine, they're on the water fixing broken boats all day, and when you're working on small boats and it's 18 degrees and windy, your hands, nothing works. It's hard work. And so, yeah, I take every opportunity I can to remind the crew why we're doing it, and to remind myself why I'm doing it, which is to protect the port of New York City, to be ready for the next, Mexican sailboat that runs into the Brooklyn Bridge that we're responding to, the unauthorized charter with 30 people in the water where we're saving lives, the next helicopter crash in the Hudson. And these are just things that have happened in the past few months. So I like to take the opportunity to remind us that we're not doing this to do it. We're doing this because we're going to be ready for the next big thing that we don't know exists, but it's going to happen in New York City. That's for sure.
Okay, so the next thing I'd like to talk about is networking and a little bit of the academy advantage. So my first question for you is, how has the academy network opened doors in your career?
Yeah, I think networking, I've come full circle on networking. I used to be a networking hater because I had been to a networking event where people are like handing me business cards and I'm like not interested in whatever they're selling, and we don't have a connection. And I think it really started changing when I went to grad school and then in the White House, where I was like, oh, networking is not about being transactional. It's not about trying to get something or in exchange for something else. It's about finding people who have similar interests and a similar desire to achieve some certain mission, whether it's like good governance or leadership in the Coast Guard, like finding people who are also passionate about making a positive change and then being connected with them. And I think once it shifted from, oh, finding people I like who care about the same things I care about, well, that's easy. That's not work. That's just like making friends and learning from other people's experiences. And once that paradigm shift happened, then you can call me a networker. But I'm definitely not interested in like someone's business. I'm not interested in business cards and going in transactions and that type of thing. Because that I don't think is the essence of networking. I think the second piece that's often misunderstood about networking is you need to like network up, that you need to go find like senior people to try to add to your network. And that actually isn't really how it works. And I think I learned that in the White House. If you like people who tried to network with like senior White House people and they were junior, it never made sense. It's kind of like petting a cat the wrong way. You're like, that's not how it works, because senior people do not pull people from outside their network that they meet in like random places. They they have the people they trust, and those people or have trust with other people, and then that's how someone gets brought in. So networking across, at least across government and business, from my perspective, is network laterally with people who are with dogs that can hunt, with people who can get problems done, people with integrity and problem solving skills and a passion to make things better. And that network of people stay connected and bring each other into opportunities, not to make more money and get more prestige, but to work harder on harder problems to do good in government. And that's at least what I hope it is. And that's networking at its best. And I think that's how we can all kind of shift our paradigm around networking away from um, like a LinkedIn connection that's would like, why would they hire you? Like, why? There's nothing there. To, oh no, I work with them. They know this. We need to reach out. And those are the people who pick up the phone, and those are the people who like show up for you. And that's kind of what the academy offers, is hopefully a group of people who are like-minded in their desire to serve the country through their service in the Coast Guard. And your classmates are going to be in prevention, they're going to be pilots, they're going to be civil engineers, they're going to be logistics, they're going to be cyber. And when you need to solve a problem related to that, they're going to want to help you, right? And so that's where it comes in really handy, not to make like Elijah more money or more, right? Or Craig, like whatever. It's just to get all problems solved better. And so that's I think the best way to think about it.
Yeah, when you leave here as a cadet, that network can be very powerful, and that when you are an ensign in a JG, whatever you are going through, whatever experience you're having, whatever problem or issue you're trying to solve, you likely have a classmate that is either currently also trying to solve it or already has, or maybe you have somebody who's a year ahead of you who's figured it out as well. And if you can reach out to those people and stay connected with those people and get those answers, maybe you can make yourself a little bit more efficient or make your life just like a little bit easier.
It's funny you mentioned LinkedIn. I'm kind of curious as to if you think that networking nowadays is easier or harder due to a lot of networking being like on the internet, on LinkedIn, Instagram, social media, because I feel like if you're trying to build your network on those apps and other websites or whatever, you're not really building those relationships. And like you said, it feels more transactional. Like, oh, let me get these connections on LinkedIn because it'll make me look better if I have more connections or such and such. Like, you're not getting to know the person. No trust being built there. So I feel like more people will trend towards that to build their network rather than like actually go out and build relationships. So, do you think that it's harder nowadays to build your network or easier?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think the word networking has different meanings. So from the perspective that I'm using, I don't think it matters that much. If you're like trying to sell a, a new hair loss formula and you just need more eyeballs to look at something, then yeah, maybe you just want more followers. Or if your business model is just trying to generate eyeballs, then sure, that probably would be helpful. But if you're talking about having a network of professionals who want to make government work, then probably not, because those things are happening in more like authentic interpersonal relationships. And it is harder to get into the network that I'm describing, because I think you do have to show that you are that you have the skills, the integrity, the character to be able to like deliver on whatever your background is, right? So as a cadet, and as a cadet, it's very much like, well, I'm in golf and I have buddies in Bravo, so I can help like my third class solve problems, right? And then in the fleet, like to Nick's point, you need to figure out how to solve this problem so you can talk to your buddy who's on a similar boat. And that's networking to like achieve problems. And as you get more senior, it's a little bit broader, probably, in the skills that you need, because as you develop as a lieutenant commander, and commander, I think it's then a given that you can lead in an operational capacity, but like how can you deliver in a staff capacity, helping lead the organization? And your reputation as someone who can deliver in those kind of more complicated roles is how you can build like your network, thinking that, oh no, like we need to talk to Elijah Parent when it comes to these issues, or we want Elijah Parent on this team. And frankly, as in the Coast Guard, that happens quite often, especially right now as teams are being built and to go solve hard problems. We're trying to redesign the Coast Guard right now. There is a lot of like, we need to pull people in to help solve this problem. Who can do that?
Do you think that networking is more important than technical knowledge? Because I hear there's this saying, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. I hear that a lot. But I mean, I definitely think that technical knowledge is important, especially for like, as you're saying, like when people are building teams, like you need to have certain skill sets when building those teams. So do you think that networking is more important than technical knowledge?
Yeah, I think they're just on different planes, where you have like technical knowledge and you have leadership, and then you have management, and then you have networking, and all of these things are like on different planes. Like in my current job at Station New York, networking plays a much smaller role. I'm looking inside the unit, trying to make it run effectively and trying to like move us along. And my network is not like helping me do that, generally speaking. Like I'll call my fellow COOICs in the area and they will help me. Absolutely. And we lean on each other. But like, I'm not like using my DC network to solve problems in that capacity. I do need a lot of technical knowledge. And I do need to practice being a leader. But in my next job, I'm probably going to need to rely more on that network and be more of a manager, and like someone who can think strategically about the Coast Guard's future and how to set us up well to like accomplish the needs of the country. So in different roles, you rely on different skills. And does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be reading like the 731 Boat Forces page after I'm no longer at Station New York, likely, right? That I'm going to be like, okay, good to go, while I'm probably working outside of the Boat Forces community in the future. But you do have to have, if you're a cutterman, you need to be able to dive into the manuals and like make the right decision, especially like a new junior officer. Technical knowledge is probably the most important thing. You need to go and get qualified. So I tell every check-in at Station New York, I need you to get qualified like yesterday. Like go to the range, go get on the boat. We need you to be a coxswain, a boat crewman, a BO, an OD. That's what the unit needs, and that's what your unit's going to need. But as you develop and grow, your network will become more important, and so it's more dynamic. It's not yes or no. Does that make sense?
Peter, just to wrap up, and ask you a couple questions about your days back in the academies. What was your favorite wardroom meal while you're here?
Cordon bleu.
The hamsters?
Yes.
Stop.
It's controversial. Easy. We had cordon bleu the other day at the station, and I loved it. And there was some unhappy people. But
I can't believe that was what you thought of. Like immediately said, no problem. I
that
got
was
this
my
question.
first, yeah, cordon bleu. Did you
There's,
not like hamsters?
They don't have those.
there's not
here
even a
anymore.
side that goes with the cordon bleu. It's just like you just get it on the
You
plate.
don't need one.
It's all inside.
It's all inside, yeah.
Crazy.
That's right.
You're ridiculous. Okay.
Um, what was your favorite class while you're here, or favorite teacher?
I think, oh man, I have so many favorite teachers and phenomenal teachers. I think my favorite class are classes that I taught. I was a math major because I thought I should have been. And then I came back and taught government, which I'm far more interested in. And I think public policy making that I taught with Dr. Haglund was a great class. Very fun to teach. And I think every cadet should take it.
And then, can you talk about a coach you liked while you were here?
Yeah, I would talk about Coach Pete Barry. So he's from San Francisco at the Coast Guard Academy, and by way of Ashland, Oregon, which is another one of it's like the most progressive town in Southern Oregon. And he didn't really fit the military vibe like at all. I had a suitability for service hearing with the commandant of cadets when I was a first D. And so they bring in your academic advisor, your coach, Captain Fitzgerald at the time, because I had too many, like I had 70% of however many demerits you could have, but no class one. So I was doing something wrong. Late bloomer, like I said.
That is such a math guy statistic that you just gave. 70% of the demerits, but like still cadet level, like but it was no class one. So I fell in this category, which allowed me to.
It was a very specific category. Not that many persons hit that many demerits without a class one.
Yeah, you're just racking up dirty rooms.
Yeah, I have a lot of records around here, as you can see. And yeah, so Coach Barry kind of went wild on the commandant cadets during that, which was shocking and fun. And he's just the kind of guy that would stick up for you no matter what. And he saw the best in you. And I think, so what I talked about earlier is like, he really liked us and we knew it. And that goes so far with any leader, to just authentically like the people that you're working with. And we knew that. And it really gave us kind of something to hold on to. And something that he always used to say is he would say, leadership, that's a bunch of BS. And we're like, oh gosh, we're like, I can't know what you mean. But he's like, it's all about the people. It's just the people and how you treat them and how people think and how they work. You guys should all be psychology majors. And I learned a lot about leadership from him. And I think he's right. It is all about people and how you treat them and how you show up for them. So yeah, I learned that from P. Barry. He's a great guy.
It's awesome.
Commander, just want to thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast today. It's been amazing to have you here. For all of our listeners, please subscribe, share with a shipmate or a friend, and send us your questions as a comment or email to studio1887@pgaalumni.org. Thank you.
That was our conversation for today. Thank you for joining us here in Studio 1887. Please stick around for a few more minutes as I spotlight what your impact looks like in action here at the U.S. Coast Guard Academy in a short closing segment we're calling the Alumni Impact Interlude. Financial support from the Alumni Association is a game changer for the overall cadet experience. Learn more from the following cadet who is directly benefiting from your support. It's time for our Alumni Impact Interlude, and I'm sitting here with 3rd Class Caitlin Harvey and 3rd Class Tyler Kenny to learn more about a project that they spearheaded to help injured cadets get around the notoriously hilly Academy campus. So what was their solution? A golf cart dedicated to helping transport cadets with injuries where they need to go throughout the day. So, Tyler, let's start with you. What was the impetus behind this project?
Yeah, so last year, Caitlin had a major surgery in her legs and was in a wheelchair and had a really hard time getting around campus. And I also blew out my knee and was in crutches. And we both just thought that there was a little bit of way to better the ability for people to get around campus. So we thought about this idea for a golf cart and how we could get that implemented into campus.
Awesome. Yeah, we use golf carts a lot actually at homecoming. A lot of our older alums have similar issues of sort of getting around the campus. So I totally get it. What an awesome idea. So, Caitlin, how did you go about advocating for this and getting the support and, kind of convincing folks and who and how did all this come together? Because it sounds like it was in the works for a while.
Yeah, we've been working on this for, I think, a year at this point. We started this when I was a fourth class, so I really had no idea where to start. I think we just started going around from department to department here. And in the beginning, we did get a lot of no's because obviously coming from fourth class, I wouldn't be too sure about it either. But we ended up coming to the Alumni Association. I sat down with Susan Kenyon just to talk about it, and she put me in touch with John Heller for CDIV. And from there, between the two of them, we kind of just started spearheading the whole thing, tackling it with their support. We were able to reach out to more departments, get more departments on board, get cadets on board, faculty on board. And from there, we just kind of spiderwebbed our way out, making connections, throw people on base. So
Now, who gave you guys the final thumbs up that, yeah, this is a go? And what was that moment like when that happened?
that was a really nice moment just to know, okay, we can start, we can get everything off the ground, everything going. Because the difference between waiting for paper approval versus, approval of getting all the resources here, getting the golf cart here, getting people qualified, were just two completely different things. So it was really nice to
Yeah.
get that final approval.
And I will say, so the Alumni Association was able to step in and help you guys with that need. It's through our unrestricted fund initially, but we're still looking for a class who might be interested in supporting the project. So the golf cart arrived, I want to say maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So what has the impact been since it's now here on campus? Do you have cadets qualified and are cadets actually using it to get around?
Yes, so we created a division for this within Alpha Company, and so it's the Injured Cadet Support Division. So them, along with myself and Kenny, we qualified the entire Corps, I want to say last Thursday, with Corps-wide. So we did that presentation. Everyone is taking the quizzes, getting qualified as we speak. And then for the impact that it's had since starting this, we've had 4 injured cadets who are on crutches, scooters, can't get around, and they've been using this every single period throughout the day, every single day for the past 2 weeks. So it's made their lives significantly better. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from them. So
Congratulations to the two of you for taking on a project, certainly as fourth class, and seeing it to fruition and stepping up and making a lot of cadets' lives better. Thank you both so much for taking the time to chat with me. Any final words?
Thank you guys so much for giving us some money and giving us the opportunity to put this program into the academy.
Awesome.
thank you so much.
Thank you both. Thank you to our alumni community for your continued engagement. You are what keep this community strong and thriving, especially our members. Membership in your alumni association matters. It empowers connections between our alumni and the academy to develop thriving and enduring relationships. It supports state-of-the-art and margin of excellence enhancements for the Corps of Cadets. And membership also comes with some pretty cool benefits, like access to professional development and certifications, unique connection opportunities to grow your network, discounts and savings when welcoming back the whole family for homecoming, and so much more. Your membership even supports projects like this podcast. So stay connected, stay up to date, and ensure that your ties to the Long Blue Line remain strong. Become a member today at cgalumni.org/1887. If this conversation resonated with you, please subscribe, rate, and share with your network so these stories can continue to reach and connect our community. Until next time.